okay? Stop! Who the hell is this guy?
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Entertainment. Yeah, it's been a bit since I've done a review of an entertainment property on the show, but there was, of course, something rather big that came out recently. Cobra Kai Season 5 on Netflix, one of my favorite series. Again, when I first discovered the series, and I think it was like 2 or 3 summers ago, I remember I was doing my deck, and I was searching for some reason, the Sweep the Leg Johnny music video. I was like, hey, I want to kind of see that again for some strange reason. And then I found on YouTube that what I thought was the video, but it turned out to be a TV show. I was like, I didn't even know they made a TV show out of it. So I did what most people did, and I got the 30-day free trial of YouTube Red, binge watched Cobra Kai, and then canceled. Sorry, YouTube. It was a great show, the first season, and I've watched every season since, and they've all been pretty damn good. It's a surprisingly good show that kind of rides the line between nostalgia and hokiness, but some seriousness and some maturity and updating it for a new generation. It is, in my estimation, of all of the remakes and redos from stuff from the 80s, Cobra Kai is the best way to do it. They basically should be looked at as a blueprint on if you're going to bring back an old franchise and bring it into the modern era, then this is the way to do it. We start out with a couple of our main characters, of course, in different places. Where we left off with season 4, Cobra Kai, Terry Silver had won the tournament by shady means, and John Kreese was excommunicated from Cobra Kai, with Terry Silver getting him arrested. So we come in with Cobra Kai having these highfalutin, very high-tech dojos, and they're starting to take over the valley and running these slick commercials, and basically it's coming to fruition everything that Terry Silver wanted to do in Karate Kid Part 3.
You think this is the end of it all, man? I'm gonna open Cobra Kai dojos all over this valley! From now on, when people say karate around here, all they'll mean is Cobra Kai karate! John Kreese's karate!
Daniel's got Chozen, and he sends Chozen in as a secret agent and to act as one of the karate instructors at the new Cobra Kai dojo with Terry Silver, because Terry Silver doesn't know Chozen. So Chozen kind of tries to get close to Terry Silver. That doesn't work out too well. After a while, Terry Silver's a pretty smart guy, so he figured out what was going on. Led to some skirmishes between these two, but we'll get back to that in a little bit. Meanwhile, Johnny has taken Robbie down to Mexico and didn't really tell him that they were going there to save Miguel.
Phone. It's got 60 minutos on it. It's like 300 American minutes. I got you a little something to say welcome to Mexico. And don't tell me it's offensive. We bought it in Mexico. It's their idea.
Miguel went down there, we remember, at the cliffhanger at the end of season 4 to go find his father because he was done with the whole karate tournament thing. He gets down there, does find his dad in a very weird way, just going around thinking everybody named Hector could be his dad. Are you my dad? Are you my dad? Are you my dad? Well, your name's Hector. Because, there aren't, God knows how many people named Hector in Mexico. But he does eventually, by happenstance, find his father. Thinks his father's a good guy at first, but then comes to find out that he's kind of a piece of crap too. And just in time for Johnny to find him along with Robbie. Robbie and Miguel kind of resolve their issues over the course of this season 2. It starts with the Mexico trip. They get back to California. Things are still kind of screwed up, but eventually Johnny has them fight it out. And Robbie and Miguel actually, I wouldn't necessarily become friends, but it seems like they've kind of buried the hatchet for what's gone on since season 1. Not so much the same for Sam and Tori until the very end of the season. They are still at each other's throats. Sam is dealing with the fact that she's upset that she lost the tournament and she feels like she let everybody down. Daniel had to close Miyagi Dojo. So we got a lot less of the teens in this season than we have in past seasons. I think there was a lot more of a balance with the teams, but because Miyagi-Do was kind of shut down for half of the season, some of the kid characters like Hawk and Dimitri, who are some of the pleasant surprises that this series has added, they kind of took a back seat. They didn't have a lot to do this season. Kenny still has resentment towards Robbie. That kind of comes out. He wants to believe in Robbie, but very early on we find out that, Robbie quit Cobra Kai, and he's not very happy with Robbie at that point, and it leads to them having a conflict. They didn't have a full-on fight this season, but I feel maybe that's coming at some point down the road. The usual craziness goes on with the teens early in the season. They get in a fight at a water park and have competitions. It is very 80s in that way, and these these teens do have a modern bent to them, but they still kind of keep some of that childhood aspect to that sometimes in shows like this, even in Stranger Things in recent years, you don't see the kids acting like kids as much on some of these shows, but these kids feel like, yeah, they've got potty mouths and stuff, and they are pretty violent and getting fights all the time, but there is still an innocence to characters like Hawk and Miguel and Robbie. You are reminded that they are, in fact, kids. We have a couple really interesting cameos in this show, one of which is that one of the senseis that Terry Silver hires for Cobra Kai is, in fact, UFC star Tyrone Woodley. That was interesting. He just showed up. I was like, it's Tyrone Woodley. He's in Cobra Kai. Another Easter egg that's in there that some pro wrestling fans are gonna like is the fact that Stingray, who does come back, and he's a key part of the conclusion of this season, he comes back and we see him singing along to Judas, the Chris Jericho song from All Elite Wrestling. But the two big cameos that Karate Kid fans are probably most interested in is one that caught me by surprise. Robin Lively is back as Jessica Andrews, and we find out that, or I don't know if they had mentioned this before, but I didn't know before they had this conversation. We find out that Daniel's wife is actually the sister of Jessica Andrews, which kind of now ties all that together, because of all of the female characters in the first three Karate Kids, they made this decision, and I think it was a smart decision, that in Karate Kid 3, not to just have it be another one movie romantic interest with that character. So she just was a friend to Daniel, but now many years later we find out that that friendship led to Daniel finding his wife. Still looking great, and who was also looking great at this age, and because it's been several years since these movies, is Sean Kanan, AJ Quartermain from General Hospital. Don't ask how I know that, but he's back as Mike Barnes. And you know, a lot of people were suspecting that Mike Barnes was going to be recruited by Terry Silver to be a sensei once Kreese was gone. Of course, they kind of flipped that on us. They made us kind of think that he was being recruited because they knew the fans were going to think that, but it turned out that Mike Barnes didn't have anything to do with Silver. We do get to see some great confrontations now that we've introduced all of Daniel's enemies from the first three movies. We do get to see a fight between Chozen and Mike Barnes. Now, as a kid, and for those of you who are younger, when I was growing up, I was obviously a Karate Kid fan back in the 80s, and as a little kid, we always had that fantasy thing. Well, could Chozen beat Mike Barnes? But could Mike Barnes beat Johnny? Could Johnny beat Chozen? And in this season, we got to see all of that. We got to see Chozen and Johnny fight. We got to see Chozen and Mike Barnes fight, and we got to see a little bit of Mike Barnes and Johnny fight, although I would have liked to see them get into a full-on brawl, because that was one of the things we all debated back in the day, because Mike Barnes, of all of Daniel's opponents, Mike Barnes clearly outclassed Daniel in Karate Kid 3, where the fights were more even with Chozen and with Johnny. So Mike Barnes, you know, going based off of Karate Kid lore, would be the strongest fighter. He didn't have a lot to do this season. He did turn out to be a good guy and be the catalyst for the conclusion of the show. And the conclusion of the show, boy, I gotta tell you, was a crazy wrap up to the 5 seasons. And it seemed like they were wrapping up a lot of stuff. The kids are off trying to get video footage of Terry Silver doing the wrong thing, and they don't have the footage that they think they're gonna get, but they do get footage of him telling Tori and admitting that he rigged the last tournament in season 4. Tori, we also find out, by the way, she's been working behind the scenes with Kreese in jail, trying to take down Cobra Kai, but Kreese kind of abandons her at some point in time. Didn't really make sense. That storyline was a little convoluted. But Tori winds up kind of being a woman without a country. You know, she's actually a double agent for Cobra Kai, but then Daniel's people, they're trying to like warm up to her, but that doesn't work out. Her and Sam keep fighting all over and over again. Then there's the other girl that used to be an Eagle Fang, and she joins Cobra Kai, and there's all these tough lessons. They've got this new female sensei, however, who's a second hand to Terry Silver, who is a pretty vicious teacher. If you think Terry Silver is a comic book 80s villain, Kim Do-hoon is the epitome of, she's like the Baroness from G.I. Joe in this series. Like, she's so one note, like, I am the evil female character, sidekick, second in command, and she is just all in on it. There is no humanity to this character whatsoever. It's almost comical at times, but she does a good job of playing a foil. And I will say, as soon as I saw her show up, my mind went to, they're gonna get Hilary Swank. they're gonna get Hilary Swank, because now we've got a female adult karate fighter, and we know this thing with the Cobra Kai series, if there's one on one side, it's almost like the Jedi and the Sith. If you get one on one side, there's got to be an equal or opposite on the other side. So we don't have an equal and opposite. And even though Daniel's wife kind of joined Miyagi-Do sort of near the end of the series, she's no match for this sensei. So they're gonna probably have to bring somebody in season 6, which apparently may or may not be greenlit yet, but we all kind of think they're gonna do a season 6. Netflix needs the views. So they're probably gonna do a season 6, and with this young lady in here as the evil karate instructor, I have to think the Hilary Swank, they are gonna include the next Karate Kid. The showrunners have said that they consider the next Karate Kid part of overall Karate Kid canon. So if they can pull Hilary Swank into this thing and Michael Ironside in season 6, which there is a possibility of, it's going to be pretty interesting. But the other part of me thinks about it, though, the way they wrapped up season 5, it's kind of like they wrapped up most of the stories. Most of the conflicts with all the characters have been resolved in one way or another. There's still someone's laying out there with Payne and Robbie. There's still some stuff going on with Kreese, who was in jail. We'll get to that in a second. But it does end with the kids finally exposing Terry Silver and how bad Cobra Kai was. Even the bad kids, even that I call him the Fung brother Asian kid on the Cobra Kai side, because he reminds me of one of the Fung brothers, an Asian guy who talks ghetto.
What's going on, everybody? It is the Fung Bros here. We're here with Linda Du, and we are rolling around in the brand new Toyota. Traditional food that is now becoming very trendy and popular across the nation.
Which is always fascinating to me. But he's got all that fake bravado that he's bringing to it. And even Kenny's just he takes over for Kenny. Kenny becomes the number one, not him, for Cobra Kai. They have this whole thing where they're introducing this international world championship of karate that Terry Silver wanted to elevate the whole thing to. So forget about the All Valley. Now they're going to a world karate championship. Both dojos get accepted to it, but that doesn't go anywhere in this season. So I'm thinking next season they're going to have to get into that. And what's going to happen, because at the end of this season, Daniel finally defeats Terry Silver in a fight, having lost to him earlier in the season. And with Daniel beating Terry Silver being exposed and then being arrested for the crimes that he did, because Stingray does confess it wasn't Kreese that beat him up, it was Terry Silver. So Silver's got a lot of crap on his plate, and he's probably going to jail for a long time. Funny thing about that, though, is that kind of would have exonerated Kreese, but at the end, Kreese concocts this whole convoluted plan to get himself out of jail by having a guy who he beat up and earned the respect of pretend to stab him in the lunch line. Classic prison break stuff. And he used, this is where it really got kind of crazy, a strawberry jello, I should say, as the blood stains, and they thought he was dead. And then he gets into the operating room or whatever and beats up the guards, takes the coat of the doctor who was supposed to be looking at him that knew he wasn't dead. He was like, this is jello. And he dresses himself up as a doctor and just casually walks out of the prison. And that's what ends season 5. And where this is going, the funny thing is he probably would have gotten out anyway, because Terry Silver got arrested. So now, instead of getting out of jail scot-free, Kreese is now a fugitive from the law because he escaped prison. Plenty of other things happen in this season 2. Johnny's gonna have a kid now, which that helped with Robbie and Miguel kind of squashing their beef, because now they are officially related. They are now official blood relatives. Given that, Johnny even uses that to fight back against Terry Silver's guys when they decide to go invade the house. And that whole thing was hilarious. We finally got to see Mike Barnes basically kidnapping Johnny, Daniel, and Chozen in the limousine, and then they all wind up, and you wind up with all 4 of them. The scene that we wanted to see, all 4 of them kind of lined up together to go storm the castle, but Daniel gets left behind. That's the one thing I think we missed out on. I wanted to see the scene, the slow motion pull away with all 4 of them lined up, ready to fight. Chozen, Johnny, Daniel, and Mike all ready to fight. And I thought they were going to do that when they had all of the dojo guys for Silver lined up, and I was counting them. I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, if they get a girl, and if they get Hilary Swank in there, it's going to be 6 on 6. So that might still happen. Who knows? Because God knows where they're going to take season 6. But again, at the end of it, Cobra Kai is no more as of the end of that show. Everybody's happy. Daniel and Johnny have even, they did not, finally in one season, they did not get into a fight. They finally ended that because it was getting a little bit old in season 4. But Johnny even acts as kind of a counsel to Daniel when Daniel starts going off the rails. And that was the story for Daniel in this season. He was always the one leading the charge for 4 seasons about how terrible Cobra Kai was. And his wife was kind of like, and other people there. And then finally, when everybody gets on his side, then Daniel's been beaten down because Terry Silver kicked his ass. He's like, no, I'm not going to fight anymore. I'm going to walk away from the fight. And I'm like, Daniel, what are you doing? It's 4 seasons. It took 4.5 seasons for all of these people, including your very unsupportive wife, to finally be on your side about this Cobra Kai thing, and now you're going to quit. So they all had to kind of get back, which was one of the greatest scenes. I think it was the end of episode 6, when they kind of bring him back and bring Daniel down from his confusion and chaos, because Daniel was going off the rails, and Robbie, talked to him. He's like, hey, you help me out. His wife's like, I'm there for you. Mr. Miyagi would have said, this is a fight you have to fight. Sam is there for him. And then they take him out in the back, and then there's everybody, Chozen and Johnny, his wife, Dimitri, everybody. They came together to let Daniel lead them in the fight against Cobra Kai. That was one of the best episodes of the season, one of the best episodes of the whole series. I love that ending. It was fantastic. So overall, season 5, the first 3 episodes I say will start out kind of slow and a little bit wonky, especially some of the stuff we've been watching this year has been a little heavy. So coming to I can't even say Cobra Kai is really family friendly, because they drop some F-bombs. There's a lot of cursing and a lot of violence, and especially in the final fight at the end, there's some blood and stuff going on, people getting stabbed and cut up with swords, and it's pretty violent. So I can't really say it's a family friendly show, but there's that, again, it's got that kind of, tone to it, the same way that the original Karate Kid films had. But overall, season 5 I thought was excellent. After you get past episode 3, it really moves along. Great conclusion. Seems like most of the stories are wrapped up, but we'll see if they get a season 6 and what happens in season 6. Kreese on the run, and now this whole big world karate tournament that they all are apparently signed up for. But are they actually going to be in it now? I guess we'll find out in the future if they have more seasons of Cobra Kai on Netflix. But I want to know what you guys think. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Did you enjoy this season of Cobra Kai? Where would you really rank it amongst the seasons of Cobra Kai 1 through 5? Let me know. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here for more news, rumors, and reviews on the Rantin Review Entertainment. Have a good day.